Welcome to today's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by William Dalton and Adam Bednar, co-founders of OY6 Capital. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I figured I would just say co-founders plural as opposed to, calling Adam the president and you, what are you,
Right.
chief, are you chief credit officer?
Chief bottle washer, whatever you want to call it.
Thanks again for joining me, guys. So for those people who might not be familiar with the two of you, do you mind just introducing yourselves and careers to date in equipment finance?
Sure, I'll go first. Unlike many of the other people you've interviewed, I started out in commercial banking and had my own portfolio and managed that. And that was my first real taste of sales and managing a portfolio, cultivating relationships. I started out at Bank One. It wasn't until, I believe, 98 that I started with an equipment leasing company called El Camino Resources. And back then I took the position of lead syndicator. We use syndicated partners, and a lot of your people will know these names like Fleet Business Credit and Bank of Boston, Sandlaw, Heller Financial, and Oryx Credit. And some of those guys and gals are still my friends today. And so El Camino gave me a lot of different experiences. From there, I moved on to Pitney Bowes Bank and was chief credit officer there. That gave me an appreciation for not only underwriting, but some of the challenges banks have from a regulatory standpoint and going through those annual audits. That helps me now today when I underwrite deals. Subsequently, I went on to be president of ACC Capital out of Salt Lake City next year. It was then that I bumped heads with this guy and we came up with the idea of OY6. And that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
So I stumbled into equipment finance without a background in business banking, but like a lot of veterans, when I left the Army in 2006, wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. And so I packed up my pickup truck and drove to the coast of California and figured I'd sit on the beach and figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And pretty quick, my savings ran out. And so I stumbled into a boutique finance firm and was looking for a sales job, and they were hiring, and that's how I got my start. But it was pretty fortunate because my why in life is to work with, big complex problems and kind of bring small solutions to it. And so if you look at what the middle market and the lower middle market is, you've got these really large companies that are looking to grow, and the banking industry isn't always there to support them. And so I was able to come up with unique structures to provide financing for mission critical projects. And so I've run a number of different teams, always in that middle market, that lower middle market space, and always been on the origination side. And so in running into Will at next year for the past 7 years, we've really been able to provide that capital to companies when they need it. And so when COVID hit, it just made sense. If you looked at how quickly the world can change and drastic it was, those companies were really seeking financing. And as employees, there was a limit to what we could do, some of the decisions we can make and where we thought capital could deploy. And so at that point is when we decided to go start our own finance company so that we can make those tough decisions to help businesses, not just in good times, but when times got really tough. And certainly COVID has been that for a lot of manufacturers. I mean, there's no shortage of issues they're going through on labor and supply. And so I think we can provide capital that's really, really hitting them at critical times to allow them to continue to grow their businesses. And so that's how we founded OY6.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. And Will, as someone who's been in sales pretty much my entire 17 years of equipment finance, what's that like being on the credit side too? Adam, you said you're on the sales side, so it's one of those things where it's like, can you have a sales guy that also does his own credit?
I call it going to the dark side. And so early on, I knew, although I had a great appreciation for sales, being in credit is really where I was going to shine with my ability at the bank. They gave me ability to be an SBA loan officer. So not only did I get to see some smaller credits, but I got to put together some structures and understand some funky deals early on. And I excelled in that process. So it's been a blessing that I get to do that. But I also have an appreciation for the guys who work sales, because I know how hard it is to bring those deals in. And because we do work in the messy middle, it takes some creative stances and approaches to get the deals done.
Thank you. And Adam, thank you for your service. So let's talk OY6. You guys just started up a few months back. You mentioned middle ticket. Why the name? And then what are you guys going after from a just market segment perspective?
Sure. So OY6 is an acronym, which stands for On Your Six. And it's really homage to both of our military service. If you look at any operation in the military, they're always moving forward. That's always called our 12 o'clock. But it's really important when you go out on a mission that you know who's covering your rear, right? And so On Your Six just made sense, specifically for the segment that we cover, lower middle market. It's that part of the industry that, you kind of have to roll up your sleeves a little bit, scratch your head sometimes to come up with some creative ways to underwrite and provide mission critical capital. And so I felt like the middle market was kind of under attack, and I felt like they needed a lender who could, have their back in tough times. And so On Your Six just made sense for a lot of reasons.
Perfect. And then, so manufacturing, higher, small, lower, middle ticket transactions. Anything else other than that?
Yeah, I think if you look at our industry, Jesse, which I've been a part of for a long time, let's call it $1 trillion. I'd say 80% or 800 billion is pretty efficient. The capital finds its places it's supposed to go, and borrowers can access it pretty well. If you look at where really I've played my entire career and will to the last 7 years, it's really been in those places that are a little just kind of half standard deviation away from where traditional lenders like to play. So take, for instance, automation right now. I mean, if you look at the cost and just the labor shortages in general, people have been automating for a while, and they've done kind of the primary big pieces, but now they're looking at how do I further automate? And a lot of those are software intensive, soft cost intensive, and traditional lenders may like that big physical asset, but when they're trying to get their arms on kind of the softer side of things, or they've got a customer who's had maybe a quarter or two where things haven't gone perfect, those are great opportunities for us to really step up and provide value. So we're focused on, the capital intensive, the manufacturing, the distribution, the heavy industrial type things, where the ticket sizes, you can step up and we can write 5 to kind of 50 million, and that it actually matters to them, where they can figure out how to finance 100% of that project and not just the nice piece of that's equipment, but really come up with a 100% solution. A lot of times these projects, they may install over a 12 to 18 month period. They're not getting any revenue for that period. And so coming in with, unique way to finance that construction is really mission critical for them. Banks or traditional lenders sometimes like that piece of equipment or that project up and running. And so we'll take a little bit additional risk to provide financing during that construction period to help, the cash flows kind of match when revenues start coming in.
That's a good point. Jesse said something earlier I want to go back to. Although we've been in business probably I'd say the last 60 days, we look at it as not a startup but 40 years of experience combined leading into it. And so we look at it that way. We tend to be industry agnostic. The equipment does matter. To Adam's point, we like mission critical assets. And so long as we have mission critical assets and it's in that messy middle, I think we're going to excel in those areas.
Nope. And your footprint, I'm guessing national footprint, guys, even though you're located in Southern California?
Yeah, we go national. We also work with U.S. companies when they're looking to finance something outside of the U.S. We've again, the track record goes back 40 plus years, and so we're continuing to help U.S. Businesses finance their projects in places that some of the traditional lenders don't like Canada and Mexico. And as you continue to see some of the manufacturing constraints in the U.S., I think you're going to see manufacturing pick up in our neighbors to the north and south. And so we're happy to help customers when they're looking to figure out how to finance something that's not just necessarily here in the U.S.
That's right. We really do like the maquiladora space. We think we understand that better than most. And so we're happy to help when we can.
No, excellent, guys. And from a supply chain disruption perspective, with some of these build out of manufacturing plants and everything else, I think Walter Spranzel from On Point did one of these a few weeks ago, and he mentioned that some of this equipment's like 8 to 10 months out. Like, you guys are feeling the pinch. I'm sure you can't jump on a boat and go over there to the port of LA and take your stuff off that stuff. Off the freight. What are you guys seeing, or how's that impacting your customers?
That's a very good point. We are seeing some projects deferred, some CapEx pushed back because of the supply chain issues. And what we're telling some of our clients is you need to get in line now so that you can have it as early as we can. So what we can't control, we can't control, but getting the process and getting through the due diligence is important to do it now so that when it does break up, you're prepared and ready.
Right. And I think, part of my job now leading the company, not just working for a company, is to try to look around the corner and see what's coming up. And I think, if you look at the cost of a container just to ship something, it's 4 times what it used to be. And so I think based on in some of the geopolitical things going on around the world, you're going to start seeing manufacturing come back to the U.S. We've already been seeing it and most of that was IP related issues. But I think from just logistical and overall cost perspective, you're going to see, and we're starting to have talks with our customers right now about how they can expand their footprint in the U.S. to make sure that they can provide the goods they need. And so, listen, everyone's dealing with COVID and the uncertainty that's plaguing all of us, but we're starting to have those conversations about increased manufacturing here in the U.S., which we just applaud, and we think is there'll be more of that to come.
That's right. I think anytime you have market disruption, be it supply chain issues, chip shortages, there's an opportunity. And what we're seeing is more and more companies are starting to have the conversations about automation and how can you automate. I think we saw the other day, Kellogg, they have a few plants going on strike. I'm sure they're starting to have internal discussions on how can we replace some of the labor with automation. And that's where we're going to shop.
Oh, that makes sense. And obviously, I'm sure you guys are feeling this now, but hiring people is not any easier than it's ever been. I mean, it's hard to find good talent. I think that's across the board too. How many employees are you up to at this point?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I wake up thinking about 3 things. I think about my borrower. They need mission, access to capital to help with mission critical projects. I think about our investors, and we've had an outpouring of investor support, especially for a newer venture. It's been pretty amazing. But again, neither of those 2 matter if I don't have great employees. And fortunately, I think we're offering something a little unique. We believe in an in-office culture, and certainly with the place we play, it's hard to do it alone. It's a team sport. And so we've really doubled down on the amount of education and mentorship and training we provide. And so we've got a handful of sales folks now. In fact, there's right before here, we interviewed a new person, but we spend a lot of our time really focused on getting the right folks. And we're a veteran-backed organization, and we think some of the core principles that veterans bring are really key. And so we've really reached out to veterans, and we've got a meeting tomorrow with a local veteran organization. And so it wasn't easy, but we spend more time than we thought. But yeah, getting access to good people who believe in the mission and are here for our customers is I spent a lot more time than I thought when I started this business. But the good thing is this newer generation, I hear a lot of things about them. I always like to remind Will that our generation's the one who created them. So for good or bad, but they really believe in a larger mission. I think, and for us, that's always been my why, right? I'm here to help a customer get something done. I'm not just approving a loan that anyone could do. And so I think that's helped our messaging in creating a place where they can come, they can learn, right? Because they lack some of that mentorship, some of the training that Will and I got in the sports arena. You know, coaches could be a little tougher back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, we're leveraging a lot of that, and we're finding that the newer generation is really receptive. And if you look at the ELFA, you know, there's a big push to bring in some new talent. And I gotta say, there's some good talent out there, and they're here for the right reasons. So, but yeah, if you know anyone, Jesse, that want to work in an office in Southern California, please.
Yeah.
By all means.
I think I would just be intimidated working for Will because I could never dress as nice as he does.
What?
I mean, every time I see that guy at a conference, it's like, dude, you even went with the little pocket sleeves. Seriously, like I can't do it.
It's easier just to accept it, Jesse. I've tried to outdress him, and he ups me every time.
Listen, Jesse, if we could ever get some talent like you, a 40 under 40, we'd be in a good spot.
There you go.
Well, and thank you for that. But no, I mean, Adam, you guys bring up a good point. We've been in an hourglass industry from a talent perspective since I've been in it. And, you know, I've also been doing quite a bit of research on this equipment finance cares thing. And thank you guys for sponsoring our upcoming one, where it's like, how do we take this hourglass and turn it into more of a cylinder? Because a lot of the younger generation, to your point right there, they're more willing to take less pay if they're doing a greater good towards the organization or toward their community. And that's typically unheard of, especially in equipment finance. People just think we're all about the money. I mean, yeah, I mean, revenue is great. It helps us afford the lives we want, but we as an industry also do a lot of corporate goodwill. And that's one of the things you guys will see when at this upcoming event here. So glad, Adam, it's a great point. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So, Will, I know that you and I probably met at my first ever leasing conference, and I want to say that was probably 2005. What's it been like for you not being able to travel? I guess for both of you, not being able to travel to see industry peers or customers for the last year and a half.
You know, so much of the friendships made during the ELFA are critical to having that face-to-face interaction. And so without it, you go wanting, and you know, that's kind of part of why in OY6 we said, even though, you know, when people were zinging, we decided to zag and say we're going to have an in-office experience. And so we wanted our sales reps in office versus remote. We believe that human interaction is critical. And certainly when working with our investors, anytime we can meet with them face to face, break bread, share a story, it helps strengthen that relationship. So I desperately want to get back to that. I understand the concerns, but I think it's critical. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's near and dear to me, it's been for a long time, is the mental health issue that's been highlighted with the number of suicides of veterans. Every day, 22 veterans take their life. And I think for me, sitting at home, running a team during COVID, I saw young sales professionals really struggling. I mean, we're humans. For 10,000 years, we've been tribal people that like to be around people. And I always thought one of the misnomers was to call it social distancing. I got physical distancing, but socially, you got to double down. And so I did a lot remotely, but it was one of the key things I wanted to do once I was able to make a decision as an owner of a business, is to create that environment where we can come together and collaborate. And I mean, the numbers come out every day. The newer generation is really having a problem with mental health. And I think that has to do with the isolation that's going on. I mean, and so it's part and parcel with that and our customers, right? We want to get back to interaction. It's great to do it on Zoom. We know we tried to get you out here, and
We've tried.
Your schedule didn't allow it, but there's just nothing to make up for that personal interaction, especially as you're a newer venture. Like, I would love to go out and see companies and meet with those folks. I think you learn so much more about a company when you can
Absolutely.
walk the production floor with them, when you can see what's going on. Especially as a lender, I love to get Will out there, because credit guys can often see numbers and they don't see the overall operation. And at the end of the day, I was an operator. I had 225 missions in the Army, and you learn so much more when you're out and boots are on the ground. And so for us, it's something we believe in. We'll double down in. And I know not a lot of people are traveling right now, but we take every chance we can to get out there. I think it's just essential for human beings in general. And so it's been tough for me. I like people, but again, technology's getting there. It's getting us close, but hopefully we'll get to a point where business can come back to a little bit of normalcy, and we can get out there and start meeting people and walking the floor and really seeing their operation.
No, cheers to that, man. I mean, I'm looking forward. I want to say I probably had 4 or 5 trips over the last 18 months, and it's welcoming. When you can get there, and I think technology, to your point, is a good icebreaker where you can at least get an understanding of what you're walking into. So hey, I have an opportunity, let's jump on a plane and go. I kind of think that's dead a little bit in regards to, okay, well, let's sniff this out first and make sure it's a viable opportunity before we invest that capital in going out there. But to your point regarding mental health, that's another thing that we'll be touching on, come November, because that's done a lot. Some people are like, oh, this is fantastic, I never have to leave my house. And then there's people like me, they're like, what are you talking about? I'm miserable. Let's get out of here. I need to go do something. And then there was social anxiety when you go back to the office, and it's like, wow, but these are real world problems that we need to solve for the sake of our industry.
Yeah, I think, again, I think this newer generation, it's so easy to get tied up on technology and everything's 6 inches away.
Yeah.
But what you realize is that's not really feeding our natural, like what's really healthy, right? And so it's something we really double down on here. It's a big passion of mine. We put dollars as a business aspect to it. We do a lot of charity work when it comes to that. And so again, it's anytime you can raise awareness is great, but when you can actually physically do something and an impact is that much better. And again, we're doing it in a small way, but it's really paying off. And I think the guys that we're bringing in, guys and gals we're bringing in are really, they look forward to coming into an office, and maybe they didn't a few months ago. So that's reassuring.
So 60 days in, I guess 10 months from now, when you guys turn 1, employee headcount, short-term goals, what are we looking at here, fellas, in 10 months?
We had, Will and I are both planners, and we had a plan, and we've already kind of doubled the headcount we thought we'd have. A lot of that because of the investor outpouring of investor support. And so, dare I say, I think we're going to grow it based on the quality of candidates that we can find. I think that's really the only big limiter for what we're going to do. Fortunately, we've got the right capital structure that allows us to grow the business over the next couple of years, even if business doesn't grow as quick. And so I think the key thing that was important for Will and I is to be able to maintain the decision-making capabilities, right? You can there's a lot of money floating around, you can take those checks, but ultimately, how does that impact your decision-making? And so I think we're most excited about the standpoint of, we don't have to grow just to grow. But when those opportunities present themselves and we find, some good opportunities, we can grow. And so we've already done that. I mean, we're ordering more furniture. Hopefully it gets here soon. We're stacking people, in IKEA desks for right now, but we keep telling them that the furniture is going to come. And so Again, I don't know what the crystal ball says, but so far I think that we're on pace to grow a little bit faster than what we initially thought, and I think that's the support of our investor base. It's just been really amazing. And again, I think we're in a part of the industry that really needs that human touch, where you can't just throw everything into AI and say yes or no from a credit standpoint. And I think you touched on it earlier. Will's background is really unique, and it really is. He's got an ability to, having worked on the operational side, worked on the sales side, to really look at something and make really clear decisions. I mean, his credit mind is pretty phenomenal. He doesn't say yes to everything like a good salesperson would want, but it takes more of a backbone to say yes to those deals that others are saying no to. And his track record is unbelievable. I mean, when you start a business, I always think about a foxhole idea, right? Who am I gonna share my life with in a foxhole? And I couldn't think of a better partner. And so I think we're just a good yin and yang together. And it's been fun. Like, we don't agree on most of anything.
That's right.
But it's been fun to work with somebody who works as hard, cares as much, and does all those things, and really does take a vested interest in our partners, right? I think for part of my career, I felt like the credit really didn't care as much about the companies I was trying to help than that, and Will certainly does. So it's one way or another, we get to an agreement, and I think that's really what the special sauce is you've got two guys with, we're both veterans, so that's a good foundation, but at the end of the day, we've been doing finance a lot longer than we spent in the military, and so we've really seen a lot of deals, and I think we're good at putting them together. And so that's what makes it fun every day.
I think, the brotherhood established from the military background, that certainly is a foundation. But I've spent the last 7 years getting to know this guy, and I think trust is where it starts. And then having a belief in his ability to execute. We never thought about being this billion-dollar revenue generating company. That never was our goal, or to have or manage 100, 200 people. That never was our goal. So we're going to be prudent about that. I think at the end of the day, we want to bring on clients that appreciate that we're going to listen to you. We're going to understand your problem. During the due diligence process, the underwriting process, we're going to be transparent. And ultimately, once we get past all of that, we're going to execute, and execute like no other. And if we do those three things, we think we'll have the right clients.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm excited to see where things are going with you guys too. So I'll make sure I continue to stay in touch there. So anyone that I have on here, I always ask them a little fun fact about themselves. Just keep in mind that this is recorded and it will go online. So once it's online, it's there forever. So, PG-13,
Well, you had to put that disclaimer in there, but okay.
No, I actually had someone flip this around on me last week and asked something about myself. My mind immediately went to something, and I'm like, nope, we'll take this path here and go. So.
Well, Will's certainly more exciting than I am. So, and I learn something new every time from this guy. So I'll let him go first as I think of an answer.
The PG, I learned a lot more during the pandemic. I love to shop. And I mean shop for anything, not just suits, pots and pans, a watch, anything. I just love to shop. That's probably something that's safe.
Interestingly enough, I thought I was going to turn out and be an attorney. So I grew up in a small town in Northern California, and our county pioneered what's called peer court. So everyone in the court was a teenager, except the judge. And I ended up applying and was the prosecuting attorney for Placer County's peer court. And my 15 minutes of fame was being on the Lisa Gibbons show, where we prosecuted a case. And I made a girl cry. I feel terrible about it now, but it was great TV. And she ran out of the building, and Lisa had to go get her. And so fortunately, someone recommended a book called 1L, and I read it, and I said, yeah, I don't think I need to be an attorney. So Very fortunate I didn't go that route. I know a lot of great attorneys, but I think equipment finance was the right calling.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Real quick for you, your top 3 movies all time.
Oof. Let me see. You have Goodfellas, The Godfather, and Caddyshack. I mean, I think those are obviously. I think the 2 mob ones are probably one and the same. But yeah.
Spoken like a Jersey guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But you know, you guys have already kind of went into detail a little bit about this. At the end of the day, why OY6 Capital?
Yeah. So again, I think we play in a very unique space, right? We can write a pretty big check, 5 to 50 million. We can get to approval much quicker than a traditional lender. And I think it comes down to having a really unique underwriting perspective. I think, listen, if you go to your bank and they give you everything you want and it's really easy, great, go with your bank. But if you start hearing your bank saying, you know, hey, maybe in a couple quarters we can get there. Hey, maybe we can do 60% loan to value. If you're trying to grow your business and you're not getting exactly what you need quickly, then I think we're a great place to come play. I mean, that's what I focused on for the last 16 years. And I think it's a need in the market. I mean, I remember when I started, GE was around and they were in every single deal. And it's really kind of spread out over the days. And so, Will, your perspective?
Yeah, I think OY6, if you're in the messy middle, and let's take that a step further. If you're a single B credit and maybe you've had a recent event or downturn, maybe the pandemic has delayed or you have canceled contracts and your revenue has taken a dip. We're the guys that understand that and won't hold it against you in our underwriting, and will find a way to underwrite such that we can reach an approval. If you're the type of company that maybe you have some business in Mexico and banks tend to shy away from that, OY6 should be your partner. If you're a company that is looking to automate, don't know where to start, OY6 can be a partner for you.
Well, excellent, guys. Well, I really appreciate your time this morning. I look forward to seeing you in, what do we got, 4 or 5 weeks? Are you going to be at the annual conference by chance?
We're still trying to decide that one.
Likely.
Yeah. I don't blame you. It's kind of up in the air. It's like you get all excited about them, and then you're like, oh, do I really want to go do that way? But whatever. I mean, that's just the reality of the world that we live in right now. But regardless, I appreciate
one of us there. We'll flip a coin. No, we hope.
Let me know if you guys flip that coin. I wouldn't mind FaceTiming to see, you know, if it's best 2 out of 3 or what.
Oh, we'll just use a double-headed coin. I'll make it real simple.
Fair. That's very fair. But I appreciate both of your time, you know, this morning, and look forward to, regardless, I'll be seeing you both, you know, in Costa Mesa in the middle of November. But I'm excited for what you guys are doing at OY6. You know, when you guys announced the organization online, you guys had overwhelming support from your industry peers. And that speaks volumes of, you know, the 2 of you and your reputations in this industry. So very excited for what you guys have to come.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Have a great one.
You too, guys.
All right, take care.